Not often do you come across a person who can see tomorrow. And this podcast happened all thanks to his life and his times. I am mentioning Shomie Das. Shomie Das, who's lived the history of modern India. Shomie Das, to me, I have said in an earlier podcast, if you'd like to listen, it's there in the particular station. Shomie, for me, added a school in his life every day he lived. That's the kind of impact he had. So he lived these 80 plus years, he touched 80 plus schools in his life. And if that is not celebration of a life and times, I think we have to be right on that. In his journey across from Scotland to India, weaving a story, a narrative, he happened to meet my guest on the show, Naga Tummala. You all heard of Naga, my friend. I'm calling him my friend because he had the honor and privilege of gifting Shomie's book to me, and that was a pleasant surprise. And that's why we thought we'll do the podcast today, celebrating Shomie's life, telling you Naga's story, telling you about what people combined us, telling you about Oakridge, and yes, telling you about the legacy and times of Shomie. Thank you, Naga, for taking time for us.
Thank you very much, Sandeep. It is a great privilege and honor to be on your show.
Naga, I have to start with this. I look at your life in two phases. First, when you took the biggest risk of flying out of your nest in a hamlet and headed to the city for the pot of gold, which is a standard template in India to make a difference. And second, once you reach the city, you realize that you need to go to a metropolis or you need to take the next step. And then the same journey got repeated. You took the next big step, wherein you held hands with man whose life we share. So my first question to you, when you set out on this journey to build something in Visakhapatnam, what were your fears?
When we started our journey from Visakhapatnam, we were about 25 years old. So there were hardly any fears, only aspirations. So even today, I keep telling to myself and to others who think they are grown up and they are wise. So when I was 24, 25, what I was feeling. I was feeling like I can win the world. I can change the world. That was the kind of confidence I had about 30 plus years ago. Today's youth, they are much more learned and much more seen the world. So when they come with that kind of confidence, how you put your age and experience ahead of theirs. So that's where I respect and I truly didn't have any fears at that point of time.
That's fantastic. I agree with you. At the age of 25, fears are minimal. And fears creep in as time runs out in life. Not really fears to hold you back, but fears they are miles to go before we sleep. And with that question, why do you think education was your be all and end all for the miles to go?
Probably there are two, three reasons. One was like we were quite unhappy with the way the institutes and colleges that we attended, the way the promises versus the deliverables. So there was a huge gap. I was very uncomfortable. So wanted to deliver what we promised. That was one of the thoughts. Second thing also, my father used to run a school where me and my partner Rajshekhar we both attended. Probably somewhere in the family, in the blood, there is this educator's DNA.
Yeah, I like that word DNA you use. And it's my experience that once a teacher, always a teacher. And I've known many, many family, friends, educators, where they've been teachers for generations. So I agree with you that the DNA played a role in your life. Now, this DNA helped you build Vikas. And with due regard to Raj, who's been your bum chump to heyday to everything in your life, and I may even smirk and say possibly Naga and Raj are married. I don't want to get brickbats for this because today people start saying all sorts of things. But I think you are married for a mission. Am I right in saying that? Can you tell us something about friendship, about loyalties, about how you stood by each other through life and times?
See, it is providence. Me and Rajshekhar, we both are classmates from second standard, and we did what any two friends can do in their growing up years, and started business together, exited business together, and now we are building our houses together. The journey was so phenomenal, and the fortunate things, two things. One is we both are completely different personalities. What we bring to the table are complete opposites. Usually to work with such a opposite is extremely difficult. But in our case, the fortunate thing was we both have so much of trust on each other and each other's intentions. So though it is that moment stressful to have different stand and views, because we have such a trust on each other, we let other person take lead on that specific area, which helped the organization phenomenally. Without that, probably we would not have reached where we have reached.
You said a very nice thing about trust. And I keep saying that life is just trust and relationships, where trust is a seed and relationships are the blossom. Now I want to figure this out. How did you win Shomie's trust?
So in my recent book on Shomie, he has written how he was testing. We young enthusiasts, we didn't even know that he was testing us. We were just at a stage where both Raj and I were coming from with only one mission: we shall start a good school. And we didn't know what a good school means and what its characteristics are. So we realized that Shomie knows a lot more than us, and our only thing was like, let's do what Shomie suggests. And because we were that kind of Ekalavyas and probably Avinas, uh, Shomie tested us without we realizing that, and in a way he has used us as the playground to achieve his mission, his vision, because he has seen that aspiration in us that we wanted to build a good school. Hence, it worked out as a perfect synergy. We didn't come from any our own fixed ideas, and we found Shomie with so much of knowledge. This was a perfect combination. Aspiration and knowledge came together.
Fantastic. You said aspiration and knowledge came together, and that is the secret behind what you built. I want you to mention just three takeaways for school managements, for school organization. You have phenomenal experience from starting a business to maturing it, and then I think come back and start again. That's what people combine means to me. So for school owners and management, three important takeaways, and then we'll come to other stakeholders.
The first thing always we kept in mind, and I strongly believe, is we exist as school owners or educators. It is for the child. So whatever we do, the child should be in the center of our universe and our thinking, our execution. That is first thing. Second thing is, unless you build happy organization where teachers find space for themselves to thrive, it's not going to be a good learning environment for students. So how do we nurture and take care of our teachers is the second important thing. And the third thing is, I come across many promoters. They are so confused whether they are doing it for profit or for charity. They don't know. Be clear yourself what you want to do. Don't try to be hitting the bush around. So you be clear what you want to do and build the organization accordingly. On one hand, you want to make profit, and on the other hand, you want tax exemptions. These are all contradictions which it doesn't work that way. These are the three things that I think important for school owners.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm glad you brought this distinction and you actually highlighted teachers. Now, we believe at our end, at My Good School, which is our philosophy, happy teachers make happy students. This is a statement you must have heard of. Now, what did you do for happy teachers in your game plan?
So, many things we did. First, we tried to understand what um, any educational institution, be it school or college, wherever, what it makes up. It is the teacher who is a passionate teacher, who is truly a teacher DNA person is more important than an experienced person. So we also understood from Shomie that who makes up a good teacher. The person who is more knowledgeable, carrying with more knowledge is not the person who is a good teacher. It is the one who loves the child and ones who loves their subject. These are the two aspects that always Shomie emphasized and we carried in recruiting the teachers. And many a times we have recruited people who have no prior knowledge in teaching. That's one thing. Second thing is, once they are onboarded, they are given so much of freedom to at least they have their own space to figure out how to go about. It's not a cookie cutter or stereotype or kind of approach. And also third thing what we did is at the time of recruitment, we tried to recruit more and more younger people into teaching so that their N2 levels are very high, their learning abilities are high, and their unlearning requirements are low. Thus, we are able to create a good, I can say, army of teachers.
That's a good one. Army of teachers. And I
And
really love this freshness which you just mentioned about. And you talked about unlearning. And I know the system and the process and everything in India, perhaps straight jackets. And if you straight jacket, you actually kill the child inside you. So now let's come to the children. A child is born, a child learns from the environment. And as we build systems and processes, we actually hampered the child's growth. That's my belief. So for a child in Oakridge and for a child in your education and learning program, how did you give that freedom so that the child can flower and experience the joy of
it took some time for us to understand what is child-centered education was. So, however, we figured out the first thing was we didn't have any prescribed textbooks. The moment when you have removed the textbook as the straight jacket, automatically the student has possibility to explore other places. That was the starting point. Then the second thing was also the method of each child is different and they can learn from different things. As you mentioned in the beginning, it is learn from living and learn from dead. So they were given multiple opportunities, continue to be into different kinds of areas to explore subjects as well as explore um, sources, the mode of learning, be it physically doing experiential or from the libraries or from visiting places. We have tried in a physical sense how best we could be child-centered. And more so, teachers, when they come with that mindedness, they allow students to explore. Children's natural behavior is an exploration. It is the teacher who restricts. And added to that, Shomie insisted, and we did way back in 2001, all our classrooms were internet connected. And there were computers set up in classrooms so that students, if the teacher is teaching to the other students, students could go on to internet and explore other areas of interest while the teacher is teaching in the class. From those times, it was a very radical difference.
Yeah, I like that actually, this idea about exploration. And we just talked about learning from the environment around you. Now, in this connected world, if you were to start this journey again, how would you make a new school with students first? We've been talking of teachers first because we say that teachers in the last 25 years, we've all been saying teachers first, teachers first. And there's a paradigm shift today. It's students first. So what do you think you could have done right or as a correction in your method, wherein you should have put students first instead of teachers first?
Fortunately, in our case, we never put teachers first. We put students only first. It was all child-centered education. But however, with the available technology those days, there was a limitation of achieving the most ideal child-centered education. But now with generative AI and the change in technology, we currently are working on a new way of educating children through schools and through teachers. We have started an organization, Core School, which is an extension to schools, a complete learning solution. Because academic learning need not to be in the classroom. There can be so much exploration that can happen in the classroom. And today the AI can teach students far, far better than any other teacher in the classroom. And it is so personalized. Students can interact, get their entire conceptual understanding with a lot more ease. However, this is not to substitute the teacher, it is rather to empower the teacher. It is to make the teacher present with the student 24/7. That's what we are working. Thus, we are trying to achieve that child-centeredness.
Fantastic. Am I right in saying that if I may say, the hierarchy has vanished and today teacher and student at the same level, both are learners? Am I right in interpreting it that way? Both are equal learners. They're like peers today in the system. Am I right in that? Because for both of them, this AI and technology which has come in is a major, major plus point in bridging the learning abilities.
It is, in fact, always true that without being a learner, nobody can be a teacher. So, but probably now the hierarchy is diminishing. It is becoming a level play. As a result, the teacher is expected to get out of the ego and learn together with children, experiment together with children, thereby they facilitate learning with love and care.
We've come back to trust and relationship. That's where we started this conversation. Love and care only happens when there's trust and relationships. So I think from where we start to where we are, it's called Shunya. And Shunya is the most powerful innovation in the world. Everyone agrees that. Now, before the Shunya story comes to its Shunya, I only have one stakeholder left. That is the parents. Because the four pillars of a school are the management, the teachers, the students, and the community of parents. Sometimes you want to use the word community because as education institutions grow, the management is also got an interface with ex-students. So I use a larger word community. When you started, how did you get the trust of parents to begin with in the uncharted territory where you set sail?
That is such an interesting thing. In India, parents are just seen as a fee-paying agency, nothing more than that. Versus my belief always used to be is for each teacher, in fact, for each student, there are two volunteers at home on ground. So if teacher sees both father and mother as volunteers on ground, the dynamics changes quite a bit. So as a result, always I used to say for 25 kids, there are 50 volunteers on the ground. You please work with them. You don't need to stress up or you don't need to fight with them. Rather, they are there readily available to do what you expect them to do. It is you empowering the parents is what has to happen, and that's what we believed. And we have created a communication system. I'm talking about 20 years ago, wherein parents and teachers could talk every day based on the requirement and based on the schedule. As a result, there was no waiting for the PTM, which is a very stereotype. Or a communication between teacher and parent could have happened only after a month or 2 months. That was not the case. So we try to bring parents and teachers together into the equation because everybody is there in the interest of the student. And also we believe that while for the teacher it is one more student, that one more student is life for those parents. So the moment we deal with them with that kind of emotion, the whole dynamics were very different.
That's beautiful. The idea of emotion, the idea of dynamics. I really like the way you brought dynamics and physics into play and even harness the Bernoulli's principle with better velocity to help child learn more and more. I'm so happy we've talked today, and yes, we dedicate this show to none other than Shomie Das, who's been an intrinsic part of our, I would say, conjoined lives in wherever we have been. You may be where you are, I may be where I am, and Shomie is with us always.
Yeah.
So, in all true humbleness, we dedicate this show to the parents who believed in you first. Second, to the teachers who grew up in your system, to the teachers who loved you, the teachers who liked you, to the teachers who actually took the risk of working with you. And last but not the least, the children who became part of the experiment, if I may call that. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you hugely for telling us that the making of Oakridge and the making of life and love happened. It's been a fascinating morning show. I know my show has gone way beyond the length of the show, but I think this was special. So let me tell all our listeners and viewers, if we end up being with you on your screen, just get up, get a